Josh Frydenberg is the Treasurer of Australia, today responsible for putting together what is about to pass through the Parliament, $130 billion being added to the social safety net and saving people's jobs.
Well, this is extraordinary times and they call for extraordinary measures, and you're absolutely right, Paul. I never thought as a Liberal Party Treasurer, coalition member, that I would be announcing a $130 billion wage subsidy, but as you know, no one predicted the global pandemic that is the coronavirus, and it was heartbreaking to see those queues outside Centrelink, and we knew how important it was to maintain that formal connection between the employer and the employee. And some 6 million Australians are going to be able to access this scheme, from the carpenter and the plumber and the sparky who are the sole traders, to casuals who have been with an employer for more than 12 months, to part-time, to full-time workers, and of course those who work in the not-for-profit sector. So this is a very significant program that couldn't come at a more important time for the nation.
Let's talk about the types of people who have already reached out. How many businesses have applied for the JobKeeper payment, and how many workers would that cover?
Well, it would cover millions, because over 730,000 businesses have registered their interest with the Australian Tax Office. And following the passage of legislation, the Tax Office will go to the next stage, which will seek the requisite documentation from those businesses, and then the money will start to flow from the first week in May, and it will be paid a month back to early April. And this money will be an economic lifeline, Paul, for these businesses and for their workers. It will help keep people in a job, and that is critically important at this time. I think this has been a really historic day in the National Parliament, and the People's House has delivered for the Australian people.
How many people have applied in the past couple of weeks for Centrelink benefits?
Well, there's been a couple of 100,000 that have applied for the job seeker payments, and as you know, we effectively doubled the safety net. All our measures have been temporary, and I want to emphasise that. Scott Morrison has made it very clear to the nation that he expects this to go for 6 months or more. So our legislation has been sunsetted, and we've focused on getting that boosted safety net, or the boosted cash flow for the small business, or the JobKeeper payment today, for around 6 months, and that's been our intention, because we believe there's going to be the other side of the coronavirus, and we don't want to be spending as much as we have to right now.
Now, we all know about the curve, and on the health side of things, if there was no intervention, if we weren't told to stay home, if we didn't follow the rules and stay home, then we know that the number of people getting crook and dying would just keep going and going and going. I'm assuming the same is when it comes to unemployment and these particular initiatives that we're talking about. But in the same way that we have bent the curve and we are not talking about the types of numbers of people who are crook or dying, if 200 or let's even say 300,000 people have applied for unemployment benefits, then clearly we have bent a bit of a curve there in terms of unemployment. There were fears we could get up to 10%, 1 million workers. It doesn't seem like that has happened yet.
Well, again, this is a very fluid situation, and businesses are certainly struggling with the economic fallout from the health restrictions, because we're fighting a war on two fronts, Paul. We're fighting simultaneously a health crisis, and we're also fighting an economic crisis. And you're right, we've got to put in place quarantine, isolation, contact tracing. That's all critically important to bending and flattening that curve, which has started to happen. With regards to unemployment, I think the JobKeeper payment has not only been a psychological boost to the nation, but it's also going to be a material, practical, financial boost to the nation, and it's going to give businesses the confidence that they need to hang on to those workers, to maybe open their doors a few hours less than they otherwise would, but to keep those staff on, which is going to be critically important for both employer and employee.